There's a storm brewing over the wild mountains of North Carolina, and at the heart of it stands one man whose name has become legend, Eustace Conway. For years, the world has known him as the last true mountain man, a symbol of survival, simplicity, and human connection with nature. His home, the famous Turtle Island Preserve, has been seen as a sanctuary, a place where ancient skills are kept alive. But what if behind this noble image lies a mystery that even the forest cannot contain? What if there is a secret that Eustace Conway has kept hidden for decades, inside a place that no one, not even his closest companions, had ever been allowed to enter? That place is his workshop, and what was discovered inside has changed everything people thought they knew about the mountain man of mountain men. The workshop sat deep within the woods, roughly 200 yards from Eustace Conway's main cabin. It was hidden behind ancient hemlock trees wrapped in vines and reachable only through a narrow, overgrown path. The building looked simple, made of hand-hewn logs with a moss-covered roof and a single wooden door standing firm against the passage of time. For years, this structure was completely off-limits. Visitors, students, and television crews were all denied entry. Whenever anyone asked about it, Eustace would fall silent or change the subject as though the very question disturbed something sacred. No one knew why this place was so secret, and that silence only made the curiosity grow stronger. Then one day, something changed. The production crew of Warm Springs Studios, the team behind the hit show Mountain Men, received permission from Eustace Conway himself to film inside the workshop. It was the first time in history anyone outside of Eustace's circle would step through those doors. But from the moment the crew arrived, they could tell something about him was different. His calm confidence was replaced by tension. He would stop speaking mid-sentence, his eyes drifting toward the workshop as though something inside was calling to him. At night, members of the team claimed they saw him walking to the workshop without a lantern or flashlight, as if guided by memory or instinct. He moved through the darkness like a man following an invisible force. On the morning of the shoot, something strange happened. Eustace vanished. The entire crew searched for hours through the forest, calling his name, combing the trails, and fearing he might have run off into the wilderness. Then suddenly he appeared among them, standing silently, calm as ever. When they asked where he had been, he simply replied, "I've been around all along." No one dared to question what that meant. The decision was made, the cameras would roll, and the door to the forbidden workshop would finally open. The path to the building felt longer than ever as Eustace led the way. When they reached the door, he hesitated, his hands trembling slightly as he gripped the handle. The hinges groaned as he pushed it open, releasing a thick wave of cold air from inside. What they saw next stopped everyone in their tracks. The walls were covered in faces, hundreds of them, carved directly into the logs. Each face bore a different expression: pain, joy, fear, serenity. They seemed almost alive, frozen mid-emotion, watching from every corner. It wasn't the kind of art you'd expect from a man of the mountains. It was something deeper, darker. The crew stood in silence, their skin crawling as they realized that every inch of wood was carved by Eustace Conway's own hands. A story once told by one of his former apprentices suddenly came to mind. The young man had claimed that Eustace spent entire nights carving wooden figures while muttering about the connection between form and spirit. He had also described strange experiments, rebuilding clocks with tree sap and leather, working as if trying to merge nature and machinery into one living thing. At the time, everyone laughed it off as superstition, but now, standing before those walls, no one was laughing. Then someone noticed another door at the back of the workshop. It was smaller, older, and slightly ajar. The crew hesitated, but Eustace turned to them and asked softly, "Do you want to see what's inside?" They nodded. The second room was colder than the first. The walls were lined with animal skulls arranged in ritual-like patterns. Dried plants hung from the ceiling, maintaining their colors despite age. The floor was littered with handmade tools, each one shaped in ways that defied logic. Some looked like knives, others like instruments, but none fit any known design. The air was thick and heavy, as though the room itself was breathing. Above their heads, vines and branches covered part of the ceiling. When one of the cameramen used a stick to pull them aside, something shocking was revealed. It was a massive structure, part sculpture, part mechanism, made from wood, bone, and stone. No one could tell what it was meant to be. One person whispered it looked like a map. Another thought it was a machine. A third said it was something else entirely, something that didn't belong to this world. When asked to explain, Eustace gave a cryptic answer: "It's work." His expression was blank, his eyes distant. In one corner of the room, a wooden shelf held dozens of hand-bound journals. The pages were filled with tiny handwriting and strange symbols. Some were in English, others in a language no one could identify. Between the pages were sketches, star charts, rare plants, and diagrams of invisible forces connecting trees, rivers, and human beings. On the floor below the shelf were glass jars sealed with wax. Inside them were strange substances, powders that shimmered like silver, soil that glowed faintly when observed closely, and liquids that shifted from transparent to opaque as if alive. No one could explain what they were. Then they found the old recordings, hundreds of them, cassette tapes, reel-to-reel spools, even a wax cylinder. When the crew asked what they contained, Eustace Conway said something none of them would ever forget. "I've been recording the voices of the mountain. What speaks when people aren't listening?" He claimed every sound in nature carried meaning, that the forest itself spoke, if only humans had the patience to hear. Against their better judgment, the crew asked to hear one of the tapes. Eustace hesitated, then agreed. He placed an old cassette into a worn-out player. The sound began softly, a rush of wind, faint and distant. Then came whispers, overlapping, echoing like a language older than words. The pitch grew sharper, vibrating in the walls and through their bones. The cameraman winced and covered his ears. One producer gripped his jaw in pain, as if the sound was vibrating inside his skull. When Eustace finally stopped the tape, the silence felt